Hello, I'm Pastor Fred Greco of Christ Church, and I'm standing here in Christ Church in what is our empty lobby, a lobby that has been empty now for more than a month as we have been canceling, suspending in-person worship services in accordance with guidelines from our state government and health officials. But I have good news for you. On Sunday, May 24th, Christ Church is going to reopen for in-person worship services. We're going to be going away from a live stream only model that we've been with the last few weeks and will be still with for the next few Sundays in order to welcome back our congregation and visitors to come and worship the Lord with us on Sunday, May 24th. And so on that Sunday, we will revert back to 2 morning worship services. We've just had one the last few weeks, but we'll be going back to 2 services, one at 8:30 in the morning, one at 10:30 in the morning. And we will continue to live stream that second service at 10:30 for those of you who are unable to come or who feel safer at home. So we'll have that possibility. And then at 6 o'clock p.m., we will come back together for our evening service, once again having an in-person service and a live stream for those of you who are at home to be able to view and participate. Now, what will this look like? I'm sure you have a lot of questions. There's been a lot of information out there, almost too much, from our governor, from the attorney general, from various ministries. And so I want to give a little bit of a description of what this will look like as we work through the details. First, I want you to know that the governor and his administration and the attorney general has made it very clear that churches are not under the same mandated requirements as restaurants and businesses and other open establishments. Churches are protected by the First Amendment. And so churches are able to come and to gather and to have worship services under the freedoms provided by the First Amendment. But we at Christ Church believe that we should not stand on our rights at the risk of others. We believe that the Sixth Commandment tells us that we are to take every measure we can to protect not only our own lives, but the lives of others. And that's why we have been live streaming our worship services for these past few weeks. And so we are also going to follow along with the recommendations of the health officials and governmental officials for the reopening of Texas and of specifically recommendations for church worship services. What will that look like? Well, what that will mean is instead of coming in as we normally do into our sanctuary, we're going to seat people every other row. And so in the first service at 8:30, we'll have family units come in one by one through open doors and sit in rows, starting with the odd rows. We'll leave the even rows emptied. And we're going to have family units, or those who come to worship together in the same car, sit together. And separating family units will be 2 empty chairs. These are the guidelines that have been given to us by the Texas State Health Service. And so as you can imagine, that means we're not going to quite get 50% of our capacity into our sanctuary. And so as a result, one of the things we will be doing in days to come is we will be sending out an email with a sign-up link to allow you and your family to say which service you would like to come to, how many people will be in your family, so that we can begin to calculate the maximum number of people that we can accommodate for each service. We're hoping to have as close to a balance between the 8:30 and 10:30 service as possible to be able to accommodate as many of our congregants and visitors as we can. If we happen to go over, or there's no more seating, or there's no way to safely fit more people in our sanctuary, we'll have several overflow rooms, but we will try to let you know in advance if a service has filled up. And so if the one service that you were thinking of going to is filled up, you would be welcome at the second one. I also want to speak specifically here to those who are in at-risk categories. Now, what does that mean? You may have seen various medical journals or articles in the newspaper or on the internet describing at-risk categories as, first and foremost, those who are 65 or older. One of the things that Governor Abbott told Texas in his press conference was that 75% of all deaths due to the coronavirus have occurred in those 65 and older in Texas. And so if you are one of our seasoned citizens, one of our older folks, I'm going to encourage you to stay home. I'm going to encourage you to do so, not because I don't want to see you, I really do, not because I don't want you to have the blessing of being in a worship service, but because I want to be able to see you and to love on you and to know you for many, many years to come. And so I would encourage you to take the advice of the medical professionals, at least in the short-term future, until we see the cases of the coronavirus go down and we know exactly where we're at. I'm not trying to tell you to stay home for the next 6 months or 5 months, but a few weeks will be, I think, of benefit to you and to the church. Similarly, if you have a health condition like uncontrolled diabetes, or you're overweight, or you have a heart condition, or perhaps you've had an organ transplant, or perhaps you have another condition that makes you more vulnerable, and the details about this will occur on our website from the Texas Department of Health Services. Again, I'm going to encourage you to stay home, and to do that to protect yourself and to protect our church so that we are a place that's known for being safe and open in the community. Now, it may be that even if you are not in an at-risk category, but you are in close proximity to someone who's at an at-risk category. Maybe you live with someone who has one of these medical conditions. Again, I'm going to encourage you to stay home, and we're going to keep our live stream going for the 10:30 service. We'll also be recording both services so you can watch them afterwards. But we've gotten pretty efficient at our live stream, and so you can participate the same way you have been until the situation and circumstances are such so that you can join us. And then in the evenings at 6 o'clock, we will again also be having live stream worship and live worship. And so we'll be asking people to sign up to make sure again that we don't go over the numbers. We think given our typical evening attendance, one service will be enough to accommodate us. Now, one thing that I'm very excited about is that as we come back on May 24th, it will be the fourth Sunday of the month. And so if you're a member or regular attender of Christ Church, you know what that means. That we celebrate the Lord's Supper on the fourth Sunday of the month. And so when we come back as a community in Christ, we will be celebrating the Lord's Supper. Now, I have to warn you, it's not going to look like it's always looked. We're going to be taking some precautions to make sure that it's safe and that you feel comfortable partaking of the Lord's Supper. We will be cutting up the bread and putting them in individual receptacles so that you don't have to touch the bread, and we're not going to be at risk of spreading any germs that way. Our elders will be serving the Lord's Supper using masks and gloves, and they're doing that not because they're afraid of you, but because that's the safest way for them to serve you and not potentially pass any germs on from themselves to you. So anytime you see somebody wearing a mask or gloves, it's typically for your benefit, not for theirs. So as you come in, you will probably see our greeters, again with masks or gloves, opening the door for you so that we limit the number of hands on doorknobs and door handles. And we will not be using our hymnals. Instead, what we will be doing is we will produce single-use photocopies of the hymns, the music we have for those who want it, and we'll also be putting the words up of our songs on the screen in our sanctuary. So if you don't need the music to read, you'll just be able to look up and to sing. And in that way, we can avoid cross-contamination with hymnals in accordance with guidelines. Again, it's different than what we've done, but the important thing is that we'll be together. And we'll be able to sing to God's glory. And we'll be able to hear God's word. And we'll be able to participate in the sacraments. So I want to encourage you to focus on what we can do and the blessings that God has given to us, not on what we can't do. After all, isn't that what the Lord's Day is all about? In looking to the Lord and the blessings that He's given us. Because the Lord has set aside one day in 7 so that we might worship Him and focus upon Him. And so rather than worrying about that we can't work, let's think about the blessing that God has given to us in the Lord's Day. And so, again, I want to encourage you that we will be blessed by gathering together, even if it's different. We won't be able to have time to spend time together or shake hands or to hug each other. We'll have to be dismissed by family groups as well. But I look at this as one step in the path back to normal. And so let's be grateful to the Lord what He's given to us. I am very much looking forward to this and to preaching again to live people. It is much easier than preaching to a camera, and so that will be a great blessing as well. So please be praying for us. Pray for your elders, pray for your deacons, pray for your pastoral staff as we try to navigate through all of the challenges that are with this logistically. Pray particularly that we'll be able to acquire a sufficient amount of hand sanitizer and masks and other things to have on hand to help us in this next step. Pray that the Lord would use this as an opportunity to reach our community. There may be folks in our community who are now longing to be in a church service, longing to be out and amongst other people, who have maybe been watching worship, either ours or others, online, and want to see what this really looks like in real life, so to speak. And so I'm praying especially that the Lord will give us opportunities to bring the gospel to a lost world. And so I just wanted to give you this update of where we're at. Look forward to details. They will come out on our website at www.cckpca.org/coronavirus. There'll be details and links to documents from the health officials that will help you to make your own decisions about what to do on the 24th. And if I can't see you in person, know that I will be praying for you and long to be with you. Send me an email, send me a text. Feel free to call me. I'd love to be able to connect with you as we're in these difficult times. But the Lord is preserving us. And I think sometimes the Lord takes things away from us to remind us of how important they are. And I trust that this has been the case with worship for you. So until we meet again, may the Lord bless you and keep you.